This is episode 57 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The 2021 preseason is officially in the books, and this is going to be our last episode of the offseason format this year. Next week, we'll be coming at you with our first regular season preview episode of 2021 on Saturday, and then we'll be back the following Tuesday to recap all the action. And don't forget about our weekly predictions episodes, where I'll try to get my revenge on Thomas for him kicking my ass in the regular season last year. Then again, I think this Joe Burrow jersey right here might have already been my revenge for him kicking my ass because I kicked his ass in the playoffs. So this week, however, we're going to be breaking down what we saw in the preseason finales and how that might translate to the regular season. Maybe a bit of I put up a preseason or a 53-man roster predictions article for Around the Block. If you guys follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you'll have seen that. By the time this episode comes out, we'll already know who the 53-man roster is. So there's no point in going and looking at that now, unless you want to go look and laugh at how wrong I was about certain players, because I'm sure I got somebody wrong.
I mean, they're freaking putting out the 50-man roster, right? People, I'm getting notifications of cuts right now.
Funnily enough, the Steelers got absolutely obliterated in their preseason finale. Because why, Thomas?
Y'all suck, Pittsburgh.
Because the Steelers still suck.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
I don't mind saying that more than once. You suck, Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's accurate information that everybody needs to be made aware. All right, so why don't you tell me what you're drinking today, Thomas?
Dude, honestly, man, look, I wasn't even going to drink today. I was like, I'm not going to podcast. I ain't going to drink. But
you don't have to drink.
No, you had a long day at work. You just go home and you just crack open a Bud Light Orange.
Bud Light Orange.
You already know old reliable. Wait, hold up. I gotta chug this. Give me a second.
That's the stress of the day melting away.
Oh my God, yes.
Good stuff.
Yes.
I'm drinking oh my God, Thomas, you gonna be okay?
I need that. I'm crying. It's so cold too. It's so cold and fresh. Oh, thank you, Bud Light Orange. You never failed me.
To be clear, this is not a Bud Light Orange sponsored program.
You see the tears coming out of my eyes. That's how good.
He just really likes Bud Light Orange, guys, for some reason.
I do.
So I'm drinking a Sam Adams Oktoberfest today. I actually had a buddy of mine who I haven't seen, I haven't hung out with in years, who came over to my house the other day, and he brought with him a 6-pack of this shit. And it's not particularly, interesting. I think I've had Oktoberfest based beers on before, but here we go. Good stuff. I'm off on Mondays, so I didn't work today, but I totally understand the whole, needing a beer to get over the shit of the day, because today was one of those trying days where your kids just try to fucking kill you. But
remind me never to have kids. That sounds terrifying.
Hey, Tom, don't ever have kids. I learned the hard way by, having them. It was a bad idea. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into these games. The Cincinnati Bengals finished up the preseason with a 26-29 loss to the Miami Dolphins. In reality, I'd say that the Bengals, more or less won the important part, because the starters and the backups played well enough to win that game, and then the guys who were all going to go get cut went in the game and they got their asses kicked. But the starters and the backups did well enough, so I was pretty happy what we saw with the people on the Bengals who matter. The Bengals were actually winning until a minute and 21 seconds left in the game, which, like I said, was well after anybody who mattered was on the sideline. So, like I said, that's the important part of a game. If there is an important part of the preseason, I think it's the part where, you know, the people who are going to play in the regular season show what they have and what matters. Point is, the backups played extremely well, which shows that the Bengals have solid depth, which is something that is something I believe you can take away from the preseason, is when you do well in the preseason. It's why the Baltimore Ravens, which we'll talk about later in the state of the AFC North, but it's why the Baltimore Ravens have such a long preseason streak, because they always just have such good depth, because they have good coaching and they have good depth. And that's, you know, it's like one guy goes down, next man up, and it's been going on in Baltimore for years. And that's something I think you can take away from the preseason is, you know, if you can win in the preseason, it means your depth is solid. It means you can continue to win despite new guys coming in and playing well.
I always thought it was a chalk up to coaching. So like a team's great in preseason because the coaches are just ballers.
Well, I do think that's part of it. Speaking of ballers, though, Brandon Allen looked a lot better this week than he did last week. You remember we talked last week? Yeah, you remember we talked last week, Thomas, about how, like, you know, the man who has gotten so much praise on the show just did not look like he deserved it at all last week against the Washington football team. But he completed 5 of his 9 passes for 87 yards and a touchdown. And he finished the day with 125.7 passer rating. And it's like, when you see that Brandon Allen, like Brandon Allen kind of seems to kind of like come and go in spurts. But when you see that Brandon Allen, it makes you think, you know, that's a guy who you feel somewhat comfortable with going in if something were to happen with Joe Burrow, or, like, you know, if Joe Burrow would have tweaked something and need to go out for a few plays. It's like, okay, Brandon Allen's coming in, you know, he can probably do something, you know, with this team. It's like, you know, when you have a good backup, it makes you feel a little bit better about, like, you know, like the worst case scenario. Now, obviously, as we saw last year, if Brandon Allen has to play half the season, the Bengals aren't going to win a whole lot of games. But at the same time, I think they probably won more games with Brandon Allen than they would have won with most other backups around the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brandon Allen, like, he you know, he brings a little bit to the table, though. He's kind of elusive. He has a solid arm. He doesn't have a bad arm at all. Honestly, you know what it is it's all about learning the system. One thing about Brandon Allen learning behind Joe Burrow and having these young quarterbacks is they're learning the system together. So, like, as Brandon Allen learns the system, he's going to become better. He's going to be molded into just like you said, a good plug-in quarterback. Somebody, like, because he has to physically, he has the tools. He has the physical tools. It's not like he doesn't have the physical tools to be, and he's still fairly young. Like, it's not like, so, I mean, we've seen these backup quarterbacks all the time come into a season when they learn the system really well and they have a good season and they
then they go scam another team out of, like, a starting caliber contract.
I mean, like Nick Foles, Case Keenum, Nick Foles again.
Right. I cannot believe how many times Nick Foles has gotten a starting caliber contract with the team. But it's like the Bears are like the 4th team he's done that with. Like, how?
But the thing is about Nick Foles is that Nick Foles is the epitome of learning a system and mastering a system, and then just balling at, like, just. And I'm not saying Nick Foles is a system quarterback, but Nick Foles is a system quarterback. He's actually literally a system quarterback. Like, Nick Foles is the definition of, I figured out what a system quarterback. You know how we debating what is a system quarterback? Nick Foles.
I will say that the only thing about Nick Foles is those were 2 different systems that he succeeded in Philadelphia. Like, you know, he was in Philadelphia, did really well, and then he left Philadelphia, and then he came back to Philadelphia, but Philadelphia had, like, a new coaching staff and everything at that point.
There's only one system in Philadelphia, and that's Philadelphia.
Well, okay, that's not necessarily wrong. So.
Oh no, I mean, like, think about it, man. Like a chicken Philly, right? Like, there isn't one place that makes the chicken Philly, right? You just go to Philadelphia, you order a chicken Philly, and then you got a chicken Philly from Philadelphia. But you only get a good chicken Philly from Philadelphia, but one of the organizations in Philadelphia sells the chicken Philly. So there's different chicken Phillies sold by different people, but no matter what, if you order a chicken Philly from Philadelphia, you have lived.
Well, I will say, as far as like, I'm sitting here. We'll get to the Phillies here in a second, but I will say about Doug Peterson. In fairness, Nick Foles was coming back to a similar system because Doug Peterson was part of the Andy Reid coaching tree. So I guess it was pretty similar system, if not the same system. And it definitely wasn't the same system, but it was probably a pretty similar system. Now, as far as Philly sandwiches go, I'm not like, honestly, I go, my sister lives in Philadelphia and I visit there every once in a while. And I don't really like Philadelphia. The streets are too crowded. There's no parking anywhere. It's not my favorite city. But the fucking sandwiches, man, like it's worth it. It's worth it for those Philly cheesesteaks. It really is absolutely unbelievably worth it for those Philly cheesesteaks. They are so terrible and yet so good.
I keep on forgetting you have siblings.
Yeah, I got two siblings, one of which is moved out and living in Philadelphia now.
I also have a sibling.
Yeah, how's he doing?
I have about 5.
Oh, my,
How many siblings do I have? 5.
I don't know. I'm aware of the one because you've talked about him on Facebook, and I'm not aware that you had more than one.
Oh yeah, man. We'll be family it up over here, man.
Okay.
Anyway.
Getting back to the Bengals game, the big story of the game was Joe Burrow finally made his triumphant return to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, wasn't all that triumphant of a playing, but the point is, I think I said last year, I think I kind of like threw it out there. I'm like, if everything goes well for Joe Burrow, knowing him, I could see him being back not only for preseason week, or not only for the regular season week 1, but I think he can make it back for preseason and training camp. And what did he do? He made it back for both preseason and training camp. This man is unbelievable. Now, the plays themselves, he did a couple handoffs that kind of went nowhere. And then one of the plays was like a screen pass to Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase dropped it. And so we're still talking about, can Jamar Chase catch a ball in the NFL? We still haven't seen him do it. We've seen him do it a ton of practices. Trace. So I'm convinced, I'm convinced that Jamar Chase, give him a couple of weeks in the regular season, and doing play after play after play after play. He's going to get in the rhythm. He's going to be fine. I still believe that he could be probably one of the top 3 wide receivers in Cincinnati Bengals history. And I think the guy he might unseat is AJ Green. So and yes, by the way, I do rank the top 3 Bengals wide receivers. I got AJ Green as number 3. I think Chad Johnson was better, and I think Isaac Curtis was the best one we've ever had. So love you AJ Green, but to have been the best, I think maybe if AJ Green had stayed on the Bengals and continued being like a baller, after 2017, then he probably would have gone down as the best. But because he kind of fell off so early in his career, relatively early in his career, then I don't think he can be considered quite as good as Chad and Isaac. Personal opinion.
Dude, man, maybe we're crazy because I'm also not worried about Jamar Chase's drop. I've seen Jamar Chase play in college. That kid is special, man.
And not to mention the drops.
You don't do that in the SEC. It never issue.
Never issue.
You don't do what he does in the SEC, man. That dude. No, he'd be fine.
Yeah, and I have never seen a harder worker other than Joe Burrow on this team before. So it's like, is Jamar Chase currently struggling? Yes. Is he currently maybe a little nervous? Yes. He hasn't played football in 2 years. Maybe he's scared to take a hit right now. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with him right now. And that's all just speculation. I don't know if he is scared to take a hit. I'm not trying to say he is scared to take a hit. I'm just saying I don't know what's going on, and maybe it's something like that. I don't know. But the point being, the thing that I do know is I do know that Jamar Chase works his fucking ass off, and he's got all the other tools that you need to be a great wide receiver. All he just needs to do is readjust his focus and work through the problems. So it's like, if Jamar Chase is still having major untenable drop issues in week 8 of the regular season, then I will come back on this podcast and be like, guys, I am worried about Jamar Chase. But until that happens, it's like I literally don't give that much of a shit that he dropped passes in the preseason.
I think about week 1 he's gonna be fine. Like honestly,
I think he could be fine, but I think it might, like, you might see a couple of like bobbled catches or maybe even a couple drop catches in like the first couple plays of the game, but they're going to keep going back to him. They're going to keep trying to feed him and get him going. And I think he's going to build a rhythm, and it could be by the end of week 1 that he's kind of gotten past his issues. I don't know if it'll happen that quickly, but I do think it's possible. I do think you're right. It is possible that could happen.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine. I ain't worried about Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I will say with the screen pass that Jamar Chase dropped, it wouldn't have counted anyway. Like it would have gotten called back because Riley Reef got flagged for a personal foul penalty, which was really stupid, by the way. And I tweeted out earlier today. I was like, I looked at that play again, guys, and I think Riley Reef was framed. Like I really do. Like it was the dumbest unnecessary roughness penalty I have ever seen. It was dumb because it was an unnecessary penalty, and also it was dumb because he didn't do anything. Like, what happened was he had a Dolphins player who was barreling at him. I think the guy like might have lost his balance or something, and he ended up like slamming into Riley Reef. I don't think the guy intended anything by it. I think that's just what was happening. So Riley Reef kind of reacts and throws the guy off of him, and that's literally the only thing he did. He threw him off him like very quickly, and he reacted very strongly to the thing. But all he did was throw the guy off of him. That's literally the only thing that happened. So I'm confused. And even after the play, the guy who got thrown down and a couple of his teammates came up to Riley Reef and they were trying to start some shit. And he was just brushing it off like, no, guys, I'm not getting into a fight. This is stupid. And the refs still flag him. I'm like, what personal foul was committed here? The guy just had a 300-pound dude like fly into him out of nowhere. And yeah, so he's going to react a little bit. He's going to try to shove him off of him. Like, I don't think that's a personal foul. I think that's soft as hell. I think that is the weakest flag I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, we always in the preseason. The thing is though about the NFL, and one thing I learned about the NFL is the preseason always have these weird. The preseason is always weird about the flags. Like, I know it's crazy, but like every single time there's new rules, and then the referees are just. I always think the referees overcomplicate on the new rules during the preseason. Like the whole the non-Titan rule that's been going on. Yeah, they're just over-confiscating right now. Like, they always try to heavily enforce the rule because they're trying to set an example. It's not even that serious for real.
Right. So probably my biggest the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are obviously the biggest story, even though it was one single play and they went off and didn't see any more action after that. So the fact that that's the biggest story, I think, is kind of dumb. But to me, just from the perspective of analyzing the Cincinnati Bengals, I think the biggest thing to pay attention to here is the fact that the Bengals really look to me like they have figured out a lot of the issues that they had last year. So, the three things that really held the Bengals back last year, that if you fix these things for the Bengals last year, then, the potential for that team to win games is limitless. The one was the offensive line. Offensive line was atrocious and trash last year and had been for, a year or two before that too. So the offensive line was awful. The defense had a lot of holes. The pass rush was bad. The coverage was bad. There was just a lot of guys on there that weren't a scheme fit. And, there was a lot of shuffling around, a lot of disgruntled people. You had the whole Carlos Dunlap situation. So The defense as a whole, primarily the pass rush, but really the defense as a whole just wasn't gelling last year, and that was a big problem. And then the third issue was the kicker, Brandy Bullock. Awful.
I wish I had a kicker.
So all three of those things, well, you know what? We're going to talk about that here in a second, Thomas.
Oh, I know we're going to talk about it. I know you're just dying to bring it up.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm definitely dying to talk about it. I am dying. If you guys follow my Twitter, you've already seen me talk about it. But I'm going to bring it up on the podcast anyway because this is ultimately a rivalry podcast, and I got to take my shots.
I hate you. I hate you.
So anyway, to get back on point though, the offensive line looks to be significantly improved. First of all, Riley Reef, even like with his penalty, and he had another penalty last week or something like that. And he hasn't been perfect, but compared to Bobby Hart, man, that is just like a gigantic upgrade. Like Riley Reef is going to at least be serviceable. I think he's going to be a lot better than that, but he's at least going to be serviceable. And Bobby Hart wasn't even that. Like Bobby Hart was like maybe kind of a good backup, but he did not have the consistency to be a good starter in any way, shape, or form. You got Jonah Williams at left tackle, and you know we pretty much trust him to be good. Trey Hopkins has returned, by the way. That is an underrated storyline. Not a lot of people are talking about. Trey Hopkins tore his Achilles, I think, in Week 17 against the Baltimore Ravens last year, and he made it back at the same time as Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had like an extra month and a half to recover from that from his ACL injury. Trey Hopkins made it back at the same game. Trey Hopkins is already back, so we got a starting center back. And actually, interesting bit of news that happened a couple hours before we started recording this podcast. The Bengals have traded their former first-round pick, Billy Price, to the New York Giants for B.J. Hill, I think is the guy's name. He was a third-round pick defensive end, defensive lineman for the New York Giants. Which is good because the Bengals need to bolster their defensive line depth right now because they've had a lot of injuries. And also a conditional 7th-round pick. So Billy Price is gone. But that's because, you know, Trey Hopkins is you don't like Trey Hopkins is back. You're not worried about, you know, putting somebody in at center. Trey Hill, the backup center, has shown, I think, that you know, he's got the potential to do good if something were to happen to Trey Hopkins. And then, so, you know, you got the tackle position seem to be pretty secured. You got the center position secured. The biggest problem last year was the interior guard positions, but you got Xavier Su'a-Filo right now starting, seems to be doing pretty good. And then his backup is Jackson Carman, and Jackson Carman's had an incredible preseason. This week, especially compared to Penei Sewell, by the way, who's just looked absolutely awful for the Detroit Lions. Just kind of want to throw that in there because everybody's like, yo, we shouldn't. Okay, look, this is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase doing bad is proof that we should have taken Penei Sewell. Well, it's like, okay, but guys, we got Jackson Carman, and Jackson Carman's doing better than Penei Sewell. He's been struggling to get into the starting lineup, but that's because I think he kind of came into camp out of shape and everything like that. But since then, he's been doing great. He's averaged like his Pro Football Focus grade has been an average of 74 over the last 2 weeks of preseason, an average of 65.4 through the first 3 games. He didn't do so great in that first preseason game, but in the last 2, he's averaged 74 overall grade. And he's been looking, I think it could be by the end of the season, he could be taking that starting job away from Xavier Su'a-Filo. But Xavier Su'a-Filo, I believe, is good enough to hold down the position until he needs to. Quentin Spain, we know he's good. And so that's, I think, one of the best possible scenarios you could have for the Bengals offensive line going into the 2021 season. You got Jonah Williams, Quentin Spain, Trey Hopkins, Xavier Su'a-Filo, and Riley Reef, and you're good. You're just good. That's I don't think there's anything to worry about at that point. But I mean, really, the whole offensive line has played really well, and pretty much all the depth guys who are going to make the roster have also played really well. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit of an optimistic homer here. I will admit this is a podcast by fans for fans, so I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm not going to, be a fan about this. But I do think the offensive line looks a lot better. So that's one major big issue that's better. The defensive line also looks way better. In particular, I mean, Joseph Osai looked really good, right? He got hurt, unfortunately. But even without Joseph Osai, they have been killing it, man. Like Trey Hendrickson Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard together as a tandem have been doing really, really well. I think so far they've come like the starting and the backup defensive lines, I think, have generated like 6 sacks so far in the preseason. Probably maybe more than that. I had all these numbers written out and I seem to have lost them, which sucks. But the pass rush has just been really stellar so far. So you've got a good, you seem to have completely improved your trenches, which were the big part of the problem last year. And then the third and final big issue last year was Brandy Bullock, calf cramp boy. He had a habit of missing clutch field goals at just imploding as a kicker in general at the worst possible times. His 80.8 field goal percentage was the worst of his career since his first year as a starter in 2013. As I believe we've discussed before on this podcast, Brandy Bullock was directly responsible for the opening week loss to the Chargers, where he missed a 31 field goal due to calf cramps with 7 seconds left in the game. That would have sent the game to overtime. The way Joe Burrow was playing, I think they would have won. Would have given AJ Green a chance to redeem his pass interference penalty that would have won them the game, but that was bogus. And that was a different discussion for a different time. But still, Randy Bullock missing a 34-yard field goal, inexcusable when you got the game on the line. And then, it was a 31-yard field goal. On top of that, you had the Eagles game where he kicked the ball out of bounds, gave the Eagles momentum. They ended up coming back to win that game, partially because of that momentum swing that happened when he kicked the ball out of bounds on a kickoff. He hamstrung the Bengals' options at the end of that Colts game with a missed 48-yard field goal. So if he had made that field goal, Bengals still would have been down at the end of that game. But Joe Burrow could have just gotten the ball into field goal range and just had it, instead of trying to force the ball into the end zone and be like it's ride or die time. Like, you get a touchdown or the game's over. And so it's like, if you get an interception, well, at least you tried to get the touchdown, but you wouldn't have had to do that. You could have been a little bit more conservative. You could have gotten into field goal range and won that game against the Eagles instead of tying it like you did. But because of, against the Colts, but because of the way that things happened, you kind of had to have a panic drive at the end. And, obviously that didn't go so well. He failed to finish off the Bengals' opening drive against the Washington football team with a missed 34-yard field goal, like another 30-something yard field goal the guy misses. And that killed all of the Bengals' momentum in that game. And then obviously Joe Burrow gets hurt in that game, and it's just a complete disaster afterwards. And then there was the momentum that was killed when they played the Dolphins, and he missed a 53-yarder. So that right there, that's 3 to 5 more wins that the Bengals could have had in 2020 simply with a better kicker. If they just had a better kicker, somebody who was more reliable, that's 3 to 5 more wins that you can just plug into that record. So, I mean, that's, at that point you're finishing somewhere between 7-9 and 9-7, which
is why you always draft a kicker.
Yeah, well, that's why we did draft a kicker, because I mean, honestly, like a 7-9 or a 9-7 season last year, nobody would be bitching about Zach Taylor right now. Everybody would be like, yeah, I can see where this team's going. Yeah, that first year was rough, but now he's got his team around him and everything's going in the right direction. Well, you know what? If they had just had a kicker, that'd be happening. And then if Joe Burrow hadn't gotten hurt on top of that, I think this is potentially like an 11-win team last year. Like, I think Joe Burrow is good enough for 2 more wins on top of, if you give them a better kicker and Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt, I think that's, add 2 wins to a 9-7 record, and that's an 11-5 record. And I believe they would have actually made the playoffs because they would have had the head-to-head tiebreaker over the 7-seed Colts.
Okay.
So the Bengals, with just simply, I'm not even talking about the offensive and defensive line right now. I'm saying simply with a better kicker and Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt, then the Bengals are potentially an 11-5 team last year. Now, I mean, we're talking about a lot of what ifs right now, but in reality, we're only talking about 2 what ifs. But like you said, Thomas, that's why you draft a kicker.
Exactly. Not only just that though. I said in this podcast multiple times that I am a believer of the 2021 Bengals team. Now I'm not going to stay there and maybe say what you're saying, where you said they should have won 11-5 last year. I disagree with that, but I do think
I'm saying they could have gone 11-5.
Yeah,
last
I know.
Year.
I see what
I'm not saying they would have.
Your logic, you explained it very well, and I respect that. But but I do think they might go 11-6 this year. I think they really can. I think that you make a lot of good points. Joe Burrow is another year older. He's another year in the system. He's more comfortable with playing in the league. He's going to take a step this year. Joe Burrow's not the type of person that needs the league to humble him, because he's already humble. So I
wouldn't necessarily call Joe Burrow humble. I mean, he's not arrogant, but he's I don't know.
Exactly. He's not arrogant. I mean, all I'm saying is that this one thing. Add those corners on defense. Y'all have a good secondary. Really like Justin Bates. You add Jamar Chase, you give Joe Burrow a weapon. So he now has Higgins, Samples, Chase. You have Joe Mixon. So now he has a lot of weapons. So he don't need to be in the pocket for a long time. He can release that ball quickly. So all you need is the offensive line to give him just enough time. Because that offense is going to be rocking in Cincinnati. That offense is going to be rocking in Cincinnati. That defense has got to be adequate. That team going to win 11 games.
Well, and that's the thing. I think the defense can be like I said with the pass rush improving, and it seems like actually like Chidobe Awuzie, by the way, has been an absolute revelation of a free agent signing for the Bengals.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, like Eli Apple's done pretty good. Ricardo Allen looked good when he was in the game. And then the linebackers like Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt have both been playing well. So it's like, I mean, we'll have to see what happens when they're actually playing full games in the regular season. Maybe then the issues start popping up. But it right now it looks to me like they have all the old holes from last year figured out.
I like Trey Henderson, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Trey Henderson.
Yeah. That's my favorite. I like him. I think he's gonna make a big impact this year. I'm really excited.
Well, and he's definitely made a big impact in the preseason. So
yeah, no, he's going to. That's huge. That's huge. I like the way he plays. I like the way that guy plays a lot.
Right. So, but like I said, with just simply putting in a better kicker last year, Bengals could have potentially been a 7-9 and 9-17. This year, no more Brandy Bullock. What we do have is Evan motherfucking McPherson. I mean, this dude is something else. Like, move over, Justin Tucker. I'm serious. This, like, Evan McPherson, the way he's looking right now, this kid could be the best kicker in the NFL if he keeps playing like this. I mean, he was absolutely automatic on all 6 of his kicks this in the preseason. That's 5 field goals and 1 extra point. And he capped it off this week. I was at the game, the Bengals Dolphins game, and so when Evan McPherson lined up for a 57-yard field goal attempt, a lot of us were looking around like, oh, you know what? I wonder if this kid can hit it. This is really going to be a test to see if Evan McPherson is the dude. Let's see what happens. Boom, nails it. He could have hit that thing from 63 yards. I'm telling you. Evan McPherson, that it was a 57-yard kick that if it happened in the regular season would have tied the all-time Bengals record for longest field goal kick, but he could have hit it from longer. He probably could have hit the NFL record for longest field goal kick, not in Mile High Stadium, by the way, in Cincinnati.
I know
he
you're doing,
could have hit it from wherever. And dude, I'm telling you, this Evan McPherson kid, if games come down to a field goal kick this year, the Bengals are going to win them all.
I know exactly what you're doing, Kyle. I don't like it.
I'm not there yet, but I'm gearing up to it.
I know exactly what you're doing, Kyle. I don't like it.
I'll tell you one thing though. I actually like this week was my week for like all my fantasy leagues drafted their teams this week, and every single one of them I picked up Evan McPherson with the final pick of the draft.
So you know what you're doing right now, Kyle?
What's that?
You know what you're doing. You know how you just chilling, you got a car, and your neighbor buys a brand new freaking car. Like, hey man, look, man, like, yeah, you know, my new car, it got like freaking lane assist and everything. Yeah, I can connect 3 Bluetooths to my car at once. Man, I can pretty much play TV on my car. My car pretty much drives itself. Man, all-wheel drive, man, this car is amazing. I was driving this hoopty. Be like, oh, like I got the wheels on the rims on this car, the drive, the sunroof, panoramic. Oh my God, this car is just phenomenal. So when you gonna get a new car? Hey, shut the hell up with your car, dude. Shut the hell
Hey, you
up.
know what, Thomas? It just so happens we're gonna go ahead, and I think I've talked enough about the Bengals here, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Browns game. But it just so happens that I actually have another car in my garage, and man, this car, I promise you, is purring. I've seen it. It's not quite as nice as my car. I'm not going to sell you my car because my car, I put a lot of work and money into this thing. Can't have my car, but I got this other car. It's nice. It's serviceable. It's gonna, it's gonna do what you need it to do. And I'm telling you what, Thomas, you can have that car if you just send me a 6th round draft pick. That car's name is Austin Sherbert.
Probably gonna happen too. Probably gonna happen. Probably might hear news
How
about that.
beautiful would that be, by the way? If
The Browns,
you guys cut Austin Sherbert, we pick him up, he loses the kicking job to a guy we draft, and then we send him back to Cleveland for a draft pick. That would be beautiful. I'd be so happy.
Real mad when we're in a Super Bowl and I'm just talking shit.
You know what?
Chase
McLaughlin is not going to be kicking in a Super Bowl if he looks anything like what he looked like in the Browns' final preseason game.
Yeah, I don't think that the Browns going to keep him.
Who else? I mean, maybe they'll trade for Austin Sherbert. Cody Parkey's hurt.
Yeah, Cody Parker's hurt for the year, pretty much, right? Like, or he's hurt for a while.
He's done. I think he got released.
Yeah, no. So Cody Parker is done. You're not the guy they got right now. No, there's no way. They don't even like mildly. From what I'm hearing, they don't even mildly like him. I don't even if Cody Parker wasn't hurt, I don't think the Browns are really in love with Cody Parker. I think that dang, it cannot be this hard to find a good kicker.
It's not.
But it is.
We've got 2 of them.
Shut up. I think what's gonna do. The Browns are gonna end up doing. They're probably gonna end up. I don't know, man. They're gonna end up cutting both of those kickers. So, in fact, let me look right now see if they cut them yet. But they're gonna end up cutting both of those kickers, and so I don't really see. I can legit see them going after Cody, not Cody Parker, Austin Sherbert. But maybe they might wait for the Bengals. See the Bengals going to release Austin Sherbert or something.
Well, here's the reason why I suggest that the Browns should send us a draft pick for Austin Sherbert, because the Browns are very low on the waiver priority right now because the Browns had a good season last year. They made it to the divisional round of the playoffs, so they're going to be like number 26 or 27 in the waiver wire order. So the reason why the Browns would be a team, I think, that would want to trade for a kicker. Now the Saints are another team that I think might want to trade for a kicker because Will Lutz got hurt. And I don't think that the guys they've been having in are really doing it for him. But the thing about the Browns is just like the Saints, they did well last year. They made it to the playoffs. And, if we released Austin Sherbert, somebody else is going to pick him up on the waiver wire before you do. You're not going to get Austin Sherbert unless we are going to cut him. That's what's going to happen. If we don't find a trade partner, we're going to cut him. But the thing is, only a team that was bad last year is going to have a chance at Austin Seibert.
But even if the Browns trade for Austin Seibert, why would the Bengals trade Austin Seibert to the Browns? Like trade him somewhere else.
We were going to send AJ McCarron to the Browns.
That's true.
And it actually wouldn't be like the Browns and the Bengals don't exactly avoid trading with each other. It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, if the Bengals feel like they're getting, if the Bengals feel like they're winning the trade, I don't think they care who they're sending the guy to.
I honestly don't think they care if the Browns give them a 6th round pick. I think the Browns I think the Browns gave them a 6th round pick for Austin Seibert. They'd be like, all right, cool. Which is suck. We already wasted a 3rd round pick on Austin Seibert. Was it 3rd round? What did we draft?
No, it was a 5th round pick.
Yeah, okay, that's 5th round. So
that's part of the reason why I say 6th round pick is because I don't think the Browns are going to give up another 5th round pick to go get Austin Seibert. I'll take a 6th round pick.
That'd be a total of 9 rounds. That'd be a total of 11 rounds that we spent on Austin Seibert.
Yeah.
11 rounds.
I don't think it quite works that way, but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying there. That'd be fucking hilarious. And honestly, it would the biggest criticism against the Bengals taking Evan McPherson was that people were like, oh, well, you could have got him in the 7th round. Why did you draft him in the 5th round? But the thing is, if we trade him away for a 6th round draft pick, then we might as well have gotten him in the 7th round because we're getting compensation for a guy. And I mean, it's not directly for Evan McPherson, but the guy who he beat out for a job is good enough that you can trade him away for a draft pick. And so it's kind of like you drafted him in the 7th round anyway. Or who knows, maybe we can con somebody into giving us a 5th round draft pick for him. And then it's like we got him undrafted. Like I said, move over Justin Tucker.
Yeah, move over Justin Tucker. Anyway, no, it's fine, man. It's fine. The Browns figure it out. They got a smart general manager. He probably got a plan. God help us.
I hope that plan involves giving us a 6th round draft pick.
Can we talk about the fun stuff about the Browns now?
Okay, fine. So the Browns won their preseason game 19-10 over the Atlanta Falcons, despite the fact that Chase McLaughlin missed a field goal and an extra point.
Shut up.
But anyway, at first I was worried because it looked like Baker Mayfield did a lot of work in the 3rd preseason game. I was like, why the hell are the Browns starters staying out in preseason week 3? Because most everybody's treating this like week 2 was the dress rehearsal game, and then week 3 is the game where like all the backups play and everything like that. But then I remembered that the Browns basically did their backups only game in week 2 against the Giants. So yeah. I mean, I guess they were just considering week 3 to be their dress rehearsal game.
Yeah, we haven't. They haven't started all preseason. They started the whole preseason.
Yeah, so that would be why, because you're trying to go out and the Browns designated this game to be the one where the starters get some time. Personally, I think you would want to leave a week in between just in case somebody gets like a neck or something and gives you a little bit of extra recovery time. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
The start of the season ain't until freaking. We still got another 2 weeks till the season starts anyway.
Well, an extra week, an extra week. So I mean, right now you're gonna get a week of recovery time, and then if you rest the starters in week 3, then you get 2 weeks of recovery time, just in case somebody gets like a nick on their leg or something like that, or maybe somebody suffers a concussion. Hopefully they can make it back by the beginning of the regular season. But man, I don't think unlike another team that we'll talk about later in the episode, doesn't look like the Browns had any major guys go down with an injury, so that's good for them.
But the thing is though, dang, you ain't ready for that one. But ignoring that like just settle that settle shot that Cal just took, that real settle shot that Cal just took. Ignoring that. He just worked it in so subtly too. You just dropped it in. You just I'm just gonna throw this shot in. Like you on fire today, man. You just anyway.
I don't know. Y'all might have heard.
course they hurt, man.
But anyway, Thomas, go ahead.
It because they drive that ball all the way downfield like rock stars, and then decided to go on 4th down because our kicker sucks, and then stall on 4th down. People dropping balls and shit. So you know what I mean? Come back next drive, and then dude, Baker Mayfield's about to go off this season. That's all I got.
Well, I'll tell you what, Baker Mayfield absolutely.
That's all I got, man. Oh God, dude, man, that pass, like what was like he like falling back, just drop it in the bucket.
Dude, Baker Mayfield is a hell of a quarterback. I mean, I don't like the Browns. I'm a fan of a rival team of the Browns, and I will admit Baker Mayfield is something special.
But like, here's the thing though about Baker though. It's like he's finally, this is the first time where he's have stability in his entire career. So now we're about to see, he's about to like, now we're gonna really see like him like just like grasp the moment. Like Lamar Jackson, he had a second year in the system. Baker Mayfield didn't have a second year in the system. Josh Allen had a second year in the system. Baker Mayfield didn't have a second year in the system. This is the first time Baker Mayfield had a second year in the system. Baker Mayfield is better. Man, like this dude. And the thing that gets me is that we have these analysts and these fans that are like contingent on Baker Mayfield being a horrible quarterback. And like, I don't even debate with people no more, because the thing is that if you think Baker Mayfield is this bad of a quarterback, then keep on thinking that, please. Please keep on thinking that. Because I remember Titans, that Browns game, did not take the Browns seriously because they thought Baker Mayfield wasn't for real, and Baker Mayfield looked their ass up for 5 touchdowns. Like, I remember that. Steelers didn't think Baker Mayfield do anything to them. Beat them back-to-back weeks. Like this isn't. Y'all can keep on thinking this though. Y'all can keep on thinking this man's trash. Y'all can keep on coming up with excuses why he's bad, because that's all it is right now. Now y'all like, oh, I was coming up with excuses why he's good. No, you guys are coming up with excuses why he's bad. Keep on doing that. But all that's happening is he just keep on proving people wrong. And like, obviously he hasn't had that MVP-ish season yet. That's the only thing that's really holding him back in these arguments. But I mean, he's gonna go off this year, man. He's gonna just absolutely just go the hell off this year. Like, he's just like, we're gonna see. Like, I can't wait to see. I'm really hoping this year we get Baker Mayfield where he was in college, like that college Baker Mayfield where he just manipulates the defense and he's just so damn accurate. And he just, man, I am really excited about what Baker Mayfield is about to do this year.
Well, I agree. I think, Baker Mayfield's about to go off. I mean, look at all the help that he's got as far as like receiving options go. I mean, like, you got Austin Hooper, you got David Njoku, you got Harrison Bryant, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, Kadero Hodge, Anthony Schwartz. I mean, the list goes on. There are just so many good options for guys who are going to help Baker Mayfield to his breakout season.
He's just gonna like, and then they're gonna go like, oh, he would have done it with all the weapons. Like, of course. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had all those weapons, and people never go like, I mean, some people do say that, but I mean, like, Patrick Mahomes have all those weapons. People aren't trashing Patrick Mahomes having weapons. So I mean, like, I don't know, man. Baker Mayfield gonna have a good season.
I'm wondering if you noticed the one name I left out in that list, Thomas.
You did not say Odell Beckham.
I did not say Odell Beckham. No, okay. Just wanted to make sure because you just kind of rolled with it.
Because like, here's the thing, man. I'm just like, I feel the same way about Odell as I feel about Baker, man. Keep on talking your stuff, man. I'm just gonna, like, there's something like, I realize when you're right about something and you know something great is gonna happen in the future, just say what you gotta say and just sit on it. Just sit on it. So I
definitely be sitting on that.
I said what I said about Odell. I said what I got to say about Baker Mayfield. And I'm just going to sit on it and just wait.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the underrated players of the week segment.
Okay.
So, as you guys know, this is the part where we give out our weekly award to the Bengals and the Browns player who we believe doesn't get enough credit for the performance that they had, or they're just in general a player who doesn't get a lot of credit at all and stepped up and had a big game that week. So you want to go first, Thomas?
Yeah, for the Browns, I want to give it to Darryl Hodge. And I know he got a touchdown, but I got to give a shout out to him because it's probably the only shot he can get off even.
Well, that and the shout out that I gave him, I think last week, maybe the week before.
I mean, he's a solid receiver, man. But he's going to be a backup cornerback, backup receiver for sure. He's probably going to special teams. There's too many weapons on his team. There's just too many weapons on his team. He's just on a team that's too good. But they're definitely going to keep him. Good for him. But his route running is pretty good. Look out for him. But he ain't barely making a team. It's a deep team. So that's just a shout out.
You think he's going to make it?
I don't know. I was listening to Daryl Ryder this morning. He said there's a chance that he'll make it. So, I think there's a good chance that he'll make it. But I'm not sure.
Well, according to the depth chart that I look at as far as projections go, which is ourlads.com, it looks like he's projected to be the number 6 wide receiver on the roster, which to me would indicate that he's probably going to make the roster. I don't know if the Browns are planning on keeping 7 wide receivers this year or if they're going to go with the more traditional 6. But it looks like Kadarius Hodge, at the very least, has the inside track, and I think he's performed really well this season. Like I said, this is the second out of 3 weeks that he's received an underrated player of the week award from one of us. And I was thinking about, I didn't give it to him this week, but I was thinking about giving it to him this week. I definitely think he's earned a spot.
Well, the thing is, the Browns might cut Rashard Higgins.
The Browns might cut. Who? What?
I could see the Browns cutting Rashard Higgins.
Oh no! That's bad. That's a bad move.
But the thing is, though, is that okay? Here's the thing. So Odell, Jarvis, right? Keeping those 2. And I love Rashard. I love Rashard Higgins to death. Love that guy.
But who's going to beat him out for a spot?
Odell, Jarvis, right?
Yeah, you got Odell, you got Jarvis. Schwartz.
Anthony Schwartz, you got a 3rd-round pick. Schwartz. Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's 4. I guess he was sharp.
And then you potentially got Kadarius. Yeah, maybe got Kadarius Hodge if you think Kadarius Hodge is going to get the spot. No. But then you still got Rashard Higgins with the 6th spot.
Higgins will be okay.
Because I don't think Jamarcus Bradley is going to beat him out. I don't think Davion Davis is going to beat him out. I don't think JoJo Natson is going to beat him out. So
no, you're right. Well, they just cut JoJo Natson.
So that one I was correct about that then.
So then you're right. They're keeping Higgins. I was just thinking, man, there's a lot of talent in this team, but you also got that Demetrius Felton kid, and Demetrius Felton looks good, man. And you got to find a spot for him. Yes, you got to find a spot for that kid. That kid's special.
Well, the only thing is finding a spot for him means keeping 4 running backs on the roster. You got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Dearness Johnson, and that's the backfield. There's no argument. Those are 2 of the probably top 15 running backs in the NFL are your number one.
And Dearness Johnson.
And then Dearness Johnson's probably the best 3rd-string running back in the NFL.
Dearness Johnson is actually really freaking good too, which is
right.
Crazy. I kind of want to see him a little more, but at the same time, I don't. He when Nick Chubb went out, he still performed well. He always when he touched the field, he brings it. Partly because he's a 3rd-string running back and you only get so many touches. He's just damn, I'm playing behind freaking Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
By the way, I will be rooting for Nick Chubb this year because I drafted him to my fantasy team.
That was
So
a good
hopefully
choice.
he'll win me a bunch of money this year.
He probably will.
I hope so. All right,
That was a good
so let's see. So that's who you gave it to the Browns. Who do you think for the Bengals?
I don't know for the Bengals, man. I honestly don't know for the Bengals because, like, all right. So I was watching the Bengals game, and what was it? And then I seen a pick. Was it a pick or a fumble? It was a turnover. Turn it off. Pretty sure what it was.
I don't recall there being a fumble, so I think the pick.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. If I probably pick the Bengals underrated player of the week, I'll probably pick the kicker. But I mean, like, he's not.
He is not
underrated.
underrated. Austin Seibert might be the underrated player of the week because he was okay.
That's what I said. I'm picking the kicker. I'm picking Austin Seibert. Like,
You're
let me
gonna pick
honest,
Austin Seibert.
I don't know. Like, I watched the Bengals. Like, I legit watched the Bengals game. Like, it was on in my living room. Sat there, watched it. And I just could not. I was thinking, like, man, I should pay attention and think about underrated player of the week. I'm like, I can't say Brandon Allen. So then, wait, who was that quarterback that came in after Brandon Allen? What was that quarterback that came in after Brandon Allen?
Kyle Sherbert.
Yeah, that guy. That's my underrated player of the week.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Kyle Sherbert.
He didn't look bad. He didn't look bad, honestly. Like,
this week he was awful last week.
Oh,
and there, even then, there were some questionable decisions he made this week. I mean, his stats look a lot better than the way he actually performed down the stretch. But I will admit, Kyle Sherbert definitely, I think, showed that he at least deserves to be somewhere in the NFL, whether that be on a practice squad. Probably on a practice squad. He might end up on the Bengals practice squad. I'm not sure. I didn't think the Bengals were going to pick him up on the practice squad, but at this point, he might be worth it. He might be the kind of guy who down the road could be developed into Joe Burrow's backup quarterback when Brandon Allen inevitably goes and scams out some team for some starting caliber contract somewhere.
Yeah, no, dude. Like, I literally was watching the game. Like, I watched that game for a good 3 quarters. Like, I sat there and watched it. Like, I was like, yeah, preseason football, have me a beer, some other stuff. And I watched that game. I was sitting there like, yep. And it just didn't hit me. I seen that kick. I got a really good kicker, man.
Dude, the crowd went nuts when he hit that.
Like,
it was like we won. It was
though.
like we won the Super Bowl. It was insane.
But it was just such a good ass kick, though. Like,
it was so good. Like,
it's like he kind of showed off when he kicked it, though. Like it was just, what kick I'm talking about, right?
I assume you're talking about the 57-yarder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he did it so casual.
Yeah. No, that was insane, right? Like, you watch him, like he's going up to kick the thing. It's like he was warming up for an extra point.
He just did it so he did it like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Right. He's got that swag to him. It's a kicker with swag, believe it or not.
He's like the Scottish punter, but a kicker.
It's
Scottish Hanner.
McPherson can be a Scottish name, I believe. Might actually be a Scottish name. It's either that or Irish.
Yeah, so my backup, yes, is the backup quarterback for the Bengals.
The guy who in years past would have been probably the emergency third quarterback, but seeing as that rule doesn't exist in the NFL anymore, probably headed for the practice squad somewhere. Probably the Bengals. I will say though, I'm really a little disappointed, Thomas, that you're not giving the underrated player of the week to Austin Seibert, because I think he deserves a little bit of a shout out. He did good too. He didn't do as good.
Because you told me to give a Bengals player the underrated player of the week. I had a long day at work.
He is currently a Bengals player. He hasn't been cut yet.
Yeah, but I want to take the Brown.
So, all right. So for the Bengals, I'm actually going to go with, I think, the guy who you were hinting at initially, because you were talking about the interception that was made during the game. I looked it up, by the way. There was not a fumble that happened in the game. According to ESPN's box.
It was a Brown. I'm thinking
Thaddeus-
the Browns game. The Browns had a few fumbles at the end of that game.
Okay. Yeah. According to the ESPN box score, Thaddeus Moss fumbled the ball, but he didn't lose it, and it wasn't recovered by like the Bengals didn't recover it, and the Dolphins didn't recover it. So I'm like, then did he even fumble the ball? Like, I don't think that counts.
I think he might have fumbled and went out of bounds.
Yeah, but that would still be recovered by the Bengals.
Oh, I don't know that.
But I mean, according by what a box score would count that as anyway.
Maybe ESPN box scores are maybe the ESPN box scores is maybe the ESPN box score is in preseason mode too.
You're right. I think they just accidentally input something, because I mean, like I said, I was at that game. I don't remember Thaddeus Moss fumbling the ball, but I could be wrong. I was also, being at the game it's actually a lot easier to analyze the game when you watch it on TV, because when you're at the game, you just like a lot of what happens gets missed.
You miss a lot,
Yeah, I mean, like you see everything, but you don't necessarily internalize everything because you're having fun.
Dude, well, not only just that, like every single time, the only game that every single time I went to a game, I could tell you how the atmosphere was, but like I said, from analyzing it, probably the only game that I could think of that was better for me to analyze was the one with the Browns versus Bengals game last year that I went to.
Oh yeah, because you got a firsthand look at the insaneness that was Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield.
Dude, I mean, yeah. But other than that, like most of the games I went to, like it was easier for me to analyze from my home.
Yep. So for the like I said, for the Bengals, my underrated player of the week is going to be Trayvon Henderson, the guy who made that interception that I believe you were referring to earlier, Thomas. Returned it for 25 yards. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he's got a chance to make the final roster because Brandon Wilson and Ricardo Allen are both more versatile and or more experienced guys who bring a little bit more overall value to the table. So I think unless the Bengals, for whatever reason, kept 5 safeties, which I think would be a weird decision, I don't think Henderson has much of a chance to actually make this roster, despite the fact that he played really good today. Well, not today, but on Sunday when they played the game, he played really well. He played like a guy who was trying to prove that he belonged on an NFL roster, which is probably what he was trying to do. But in including the 25-yard interception return, he also had 5 tackles. He had a pass deflection, and he blew up a run by former, I think, Bearcats running back Jared Dokes in the backfield for a 4-yard loss. So I mean, he was all over the game. He was impacting it, and he's going to end up on a practice squad somewhere. I think the Bengals are probably going to try to bring him back for their practice squad again. But point being, he definitely earned a job somewhere in the NFL with that performance. It was really good. He allowed like his allowed passer rating when the quarterbacks was it just one quarterback who played? Yeah, it was just one. So when Reed Sinnett, the guy who was playing quarterback for the Dolphins, was throwing to somebody who was covered by Trayvon Henderson, he allowed a 79.2 opposing passer rating, which I mean isn't like the most eye-popping number I've ever seen before, but it's still, he held him in check, and that's what's important. He did miss a tackle, which brought his overall Pro Football Focus grade down, but 67.1 is still pretty impressive for a player who's, like I said, highly unlikely to actually make the final roster. Like I said, I would expect that he's going to be one of the 6 veterans who's allowed on the practice squad per the new NFL rules that actually, I believe back in May, it was announced that the NFL is going to be doing that thing again this year, where you can keep up to 6 veterans on the roster.
There's 6 veterans on the roster, dude?
Well, you probably don't want to have that. It's probably going to distract them from football. But then again, You know, if you would hear these announcers talking about tight ends penetrating up the middle, then maybe it is sex.
I mean, honestly, though, Sherbert didn't really have a bad game, though.
No, Sherbert, yeah, he had a good game. I definitely think he, I definitely like him for this award too.
Because I'm pretty sure, like when I was watching the game, like I was thinking to myself that there was plays of the game where I was thinking to myself, oh wait, hold up, that's Brennan Allen. Like no, that's Sherman. Like oh okay, that's Sherman. Like yeah, he didn't look that bad. Man. Like,
yeah, but there were also some plays down the stretch where it was bad. He got blown up by the Dolphins defense. And part of the reason the Bengals lost near the end is because he kind of fell apart at the end. But you're right. Throughout most of the game, Kyle Sherbert was doing good.
He didn't do horrible. Yeah. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. You're a bum, but shout out to you.
Yep. So for the Browns, the guy that I wanted to highlight as my underrated player of the week was defensive end Cameron Malveaux. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But dude was all over the place for the Browns. This is another guy who I doubt is going to make the final roster. But again, that's kind of why I wanted to shout him out on the underrated player of the week segment, because don't think he's going to make the roster. But still, he had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 quarterback hits in a game that he really needed to step up and to even have a chance of making the final roster. He was the highest graded player in the PFF grades for the Browns this week. He scored an 89.5 overall grade. Another thing that PFF records is a stat that you're not going to see on most box scores is the number of quarterback hurries, which he had 4 of them. So throw that in addition to the tackles and the sacks and the quarterback hits that he had. He was a better pass rusher than a run defender. But the impact that he had on the game was undeniable. He turned in a good performance in week 2 and a decent performance in week 1. So I do think that I don't know if he's going to make the final roster, but I do think he should be under serious consideration for one of the final spots.
By the way, I just read the Browns cut Kyle Allen.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was bad, wasn't he?
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but he was bad.
Wasn't he really bad? Like when we had Brad on,
he was bad
talking about how bad he was.
No. Brad was talking about how much he liked him.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. No, he had it wasn't his first week was really good, but his last week wasn't really that good. This week wasn't bad, but still you can tell that I think Case Keenum better. Case Keenum is better. But I think he might be a good practice squad quarterback, but yeah, so just that.
All right. So, I guess shout out then to Cameron Malveaux of the Browns, and then who was your player, Thomas, for the Browns?
Hedges.
Oh, KhaDarel Hodge.
I'm sorry, KhaDarel Hodges. Yeah.
Yeah, KhaDarel Hodge and Cameron Malveaux for the Browns, and Trayvon Henderson, and. I'm just gonna say Austin Seibert. No, it was Kyle Sherbert, but Kyle Sherbert and Trayvon Henderson for the Cincinnati.
He had a good game, man. He had a good game, 200 yards.
He had a pretty decent game.
Nice little run over there. He didn't bad.
He ain't gonna be making any rosters, but he did pretty good in his final. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the state of the AFC North so we can talk about these other teams in our division. And first of all, we're going to, like we said at the beginning of the episode, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got absolutely fucking demolished by the Carolina Panthers 34-9. Now, in fairness, they didn't play any of their starters, so you can't really take a whole lot away from the game. But one takeaway I did want to note was that both of their offensive linemen that they took in the draft looked really bad. Kendrick Green scored a 51.2 as a run blocker, and Dan Moore Jr., Kendrick Green was the 3rd round pick. Dan Moore Jr., the 4th round pick, was one of the lowest graded players on the entire team with a 38.0 overall grade and an absolutely laughable 11.2 as a pass blocker. Like I keep saying, man, I don't know how the Steelers think they're going to keep Ben Roethlisberger upright this season. Like maybe they're going to get off to a decent start because Ben Roethlisberger is going to make magic the way he's done his whole career. But eventually the hits are going to get to him. He's getting old. Najee Harris might, make some magic plays out of nowhere, but for the most part, it's going to be really hard to run behind a offensive line that cannot run block.
Yeah, Pittsburgh sucks, dude.
Pittsburgh's bad. But again, this week, nothing really major to take away from an outsider's perspective. I will say I think the Steelers and their fans are going to be in for a rude awakening this year, but we'll have to see what happens. But not a good look against the Panthers.
So
as far as depth is concerned, anyway.
You say both of their. Well, I'm not worried. I mean, honestly, it's preseason, so I'm not really worried about that. But you say both of their offensive linemen or two of their offensive linemen, if they drafted are not looking good. That's frustrating if I'm a Steelers fan. If I'm a Steelers fan, you let your offensive line pretty much be depleted, and
right, that's the
thing. Offensive line.
Now, I will say Rashad Coward, one of their free agents, he had a really good game. So, I mean, they've been having some guys on and off, been having good games, but it's been really inconsistent, the guys who've been performing well. So, I mean, even the good spots, it's really hard to take anything away from because then they go and have a bad game the week after.
But you play 6 games in the AFC North. You can't have a bad offensive line in the AFC North.
You can't have an inconsistent offensive line in the AFC North. We've seen that with the Bengals. Like over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the Bengals haven't had a horrible offensive line through all of those years, but it's been extremely inconsistent ever since we let Andrew Whitworth go. And that inconsistency has absolutely killed us. That's part of the reason that we haven't had a winning season in a while.
It's a physical division, man.
It really is.
And
you got to be on top of your game. And I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be on top of their game this year. I just don't.
Oh, no, the Steelers better have. I think the Steelers going to have they're going to look good the first 3 games of the season. After that, they're just going to fall off a cliff.
Right. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Now, I don't know if they're going to get off to a 3-0 start, but I think they're going to they might get off to right. They might get off to a 2-1 start, and people are going to be like, "Oh, the Steelers, they're coming this year," and then it's just going to fall off after that. I do think there's a possibility they could get off to a strong start, but it's not going to be sustained. Ultimately, I think they're going to end up with a really long losing streak in the middle of the season, and they're going to end up with single-digit wins and most likely sub 500.
Man, I mean, unless Bill Roethlisberger finds the use and he figure out a way to extend his career.
Well, I will say Ben Roethlisberger's pulled more magic out of a hat in his career before, so you can't necessarily completely count the guy out. But I will say it's just at his age, it's looking harder and harder to figure out how the hell he's going to get it done, especially with their opening schedule. They play the Bills in week 1, and I think the Bills are going to crush them.
Shit, they might surprise the Bills. I don't know. They always still find ways to win games, but
I don't think they're going to surprise the Bills, though. Now, I think they could beat the Raiders, although I did predict in my season predictions that they're going to get swept by the Bengals this year. So I think week 3 in Pittsburgh, I believe, I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to be hitting their stride by that point. I think they're going to come in. They're going to really take care of the Steelers. So I think, honestly, my guess is they're going to probably start 1 and 2.
They're not winning a single game in the division, man.
Well, I had them splitting with the Ravens and the Browns, but
we're gonna sweep them. Actually, no, I don't see us sweeping them this year. I can see it still taking 1 game. I don't know.
These division games are always toughly contested. I'm not saying that the Bengals are so much better than the Steelers, and then the Steelers aren't even going to play them hard. I'm not saying that's why the Bengals are going to sweep them. I just think that the Bengals match up really well against the Steelers this year. I think.
I said the Bengals are going to sweep the Browns. I heard the Bengals sweeping the Browns this year.
I'd love to see that. I don't know if I believe that that's going to happen, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think the Bengals will sweep the Browns this year. I mean, that's what I said. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we can always revisit that later. But like I said, starting next week, we're going to be getting back to doing the weekly predictions episode anyway. So we'll see how you really feel on a week-to-week basis.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
Yep. So, wrapping up the state of the AFC North, the Ravens absolutely fucking demolished the Washington football team on their way to a 37-3 victory. They officially broke, by the way, the all-time preseason win streak. The Ravens, now owners, they're going to hang it up in the rafters. They're going to tell the world, we've won more preseason games than anybody in NFL history. Look at us and weep about your sorry lives, because we, the Baltimore Ravens, have now won 20 games in a row in the preseason.
Hey, man, be careful, man. That's 19 more games than Lamar Jackson's going to win in the postseason.
Well, I don't think they could. Well, in the postseason, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if they're going to make it to 20 games in the postseason, but you never know.
No, I mean, it's just that dude. I mean, like, dude gets to the postseason and get figured out, man. I mean, like, he won that playoff game against the Titans, yeah. But like, let's be real, like, I'm good.
Yeah,
let's talk about. We talk about the Ravens. We got to talk about the one. There's only one thing to talk about the Ravens right now, man.
Oh yeah, there's literally only one thing anybody's talking about with the Ravens right now. It's the fact that J.K. Dobbins unfortunately tore his ACL.
Which is unfortunate because I like J.K. I like J.K. a lot. He's a beast.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. He did some good things for me in fantasy last year, but luckily my drafts this year happened after that injury happened. So see you next year, J.K. Dobbins. It's unfortunate, but he is out for the season. And I'll tell you what, if anybody's worried about certain players not getting more preseason snaps, like a lot of Bengals fans were annoyed with Zach Taylor for not leaving Jamar Chase in for more during their preseason game against the Dolphins. Like once Joe Burrow went out, Jamar Chase went out too. And they were like, oh, you should give the guy more reps because he needs to at least try to catch something in the preseason and you got to get this guy going. So why don't you leave him in for a little bit longer just to make sure that, he's getting what he needs. But the thing is, if Jamar Chase gets hurt in the preseason, all hell is going to rain down, because that's pretty much what happened with J.K. Dobbins. Everybody was like, why was he in there? Why was he doing that?
I get having your quarterback in the preseason. But why would you put your running back in the preseason? Why would you put your starting running back in the preseason? If your running back's not a rookie, why would you play him in the preseason?
The most punishing position in the NFL.
Why would you play him in the preseason? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, dude. Like the Browns, when they even started playing their starters, they even played Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're like, we're not playing our running backs, stupid. We got two of them, we're still not paying them. Like,
I will say, in fairness, it did happen on the first drive, so maybe they weren't planning on playing J.K. Dobbins that long. He had a 10-yard run and a 5-yard run beforehand, and then it was it was a fateful 2nd and 12 play. Where he, tore his ACL and that pretty much did it for his 2021 season.
See, it's tough, man. Cause I actually, like I said, man, I always, first of all, I don't wish injury on nobody. Just want to say that right at the back. I don't wish injury on nobody. Second of all, I really like JK. I think JK a baller. I think that, I know a lot of people being from Ohio, I know a lot of people who are just huge fans of him and his demeanor. He's a good dude.
Here's the thing. How I feel about Ohio State, right?
Yeah,
I still love JK. State. I think J.K. Dobbins is great. I thought
he was gonna have a good season. I thought he was gonna have a really big season this year. I thought that he was going to really just take off this year. So get better, man.
For sure.
Get better, man. Get better.
So now the Ravens are going to be turning to some combination of Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and Nate McCrary to hopefully buoy their offense.
Yeah, they might. It's going to be Lamar Jackson's about to take a huge step back this year.
Well, that's the thing. It's about to be the Lamar Jackson show, and I don't know if Lamar Jackson can completely carry the whole offense by himself with no help.
Yep.
Now, is he a great quarterback? Yeah, sure. But I do think that he's a bit like he's a bit limited. Like, I mean, you can't call him one dimensional because he does so many different things. But he does so many. He does very few versions of the things that he does. So it's like, when he runs the ball, he's got a lot of different moves and stuff. But I mean, when they're going to run the ball, his passing game, he's good at 2 or 3 things, and he really sticks to those things. But once you figure it out, you figured it out. And it's the same thing, like I've said before, with Greg Roman's offense. Once you've figured it out, you figured it out. It doesn't take that long to figure out a Greg Roman offense. Now that you don't have that really electrifying young talent in J.K. Dobbins, man, it could be tough for a Lamar Jackson to really get something going.
Yeah.
And get something going and keep something going, I think, is the main thing. Now I will say, like, it's never funny for a player to get hurt. I'm not gonna sit here and say anything positive about a player getting hurt, especially a good guy like J.K. Dobbins. I wish him the best. But I will say there is one funny thing about this situation, or at least stemming from this situation. There is one funny thing, and that is the fact that apparently the Ravens, the rumor mill is that the Ravens are interested in bringing in former Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell to fill the void.
That'd be great.
I personally absolutely hope that happens. And if Le'Veon Bell comes to Baltimore, and I will absolutely make sure that whatever I'm doing, I tune in to watch the Baltimore Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers game. Like both times that it happens, even like, unless if there's a Bengals game already going on, I'm going to watch the Bengals game. But I have NFL Game Pass. I will watch the replay just to watch what Le'Veon Bell does against the Steelers for the Baltimore Ravens. That would be hilarious. Make it happen, Ravens.
Well, I'm sorry, I was reading this. Look like the Browns released Porter Gustin.
I think Porter Gustin was somebody who gave the underrated player of the week award to last year.
Yeah, well, he just got released.
Yep. Haven't heard anything yet about Bengals releases yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I've just been looking at stuff that I've been like casually just like watching this as the news been coming out. So there's still a lot more to go. I don't know, man. Like, look, I still think that the Browns are gonna release somebody that's gonna make you go like, not that guy. For me. But there's too much talent on this team. So there's gonna be a surprise here, man. There's gonna be a surprise. That's why I say I wouldn't be surprised if Higgins get cut.
I'm seeing an interesting idea from James Rapine that the Jacksonville Jaguars might be interested in trading for Michael Jordan because, obviously Urban Meyer has a history working with him at Ohio State. So
of course, Michael Jordan will go to Miami. He's trying to follow LeBron.
Well, Jacksonville.
LeBron. He's gonna. Nah, it's a stretch. It's a stretch. That joke's a stretch.
That possibly be a different Michael Jordan, but I mean,
that's the last joke. That's the last joke. That's the last joke I got. That's the last joke. I'm done.
It's just like, okay, I'm sorry, bye.
That was a bad joke. I tried.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything about the Bengals releasing anybody yet. So, I mean, typically the Bengals are the kind of team that they try to avoid the big headlines. So you really might not hear anything about the Bengals releasing anybody until, maybe like midday tomorrow. They might do them all at once, like right before the deadline.
Probably.
The Bengals generally try to stay out of the spotlight, which is an interesting strategy, but that's what they do.
The Bengals also don't have a freaking indoor practice field. I can't believe that, man. I still can't believe that. How did I not have an retire pick?
Okay. So interesting bit of news that I wasn't going to talk about on the podcast, but now that you mentioned that, apparently Mike Brown is stepping down from his role with one of the NFL owners association committees, the one that negotiates with the NFLPA directly. So I do. It's a position he's held for 30 years, by the way. So I
Probably gonna sell the team.
I don't know. I don't think he's gonna sell the team, but I do think he's. I do think he's getting ready to retire, though, and I think.
That's what it is.
I think at least sometime soon, and this is all speculation on my end. I haven't. He hasn't said that he's planning on retiring or anything like that. But I do think that Katie Blackburn and Troy Blackburn, Mike Brown's daughter and son-in-law, are planning on taking or have been working toward taking over for a while now. And Mike Brown is, let's see, not Mike Brown, the basketball coach. God damn it. Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals.
The all-time winningest coach of the Cavaliers.
Yeah, not that guy. Mike Brown is the Cincinnati Bengals owner, is 86 years old. So, yeah, it might be about damn time for him to retire.
86. He's 86. That's really old, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's about time that Katie Blackburn took over, which, by the way, I don't know how – I'm not entirely sure how old Katie Blackburn is. It's 55, apparently. So, I mean, she's definitely not a spring chicken either.
86 is really freaking old, dude.
Yeah, 86 is to be still working that hard at that age. I will say, like, I don't always think Mike Brown's made the best decision for the Bengals throughout the years, but I do respect the tenacity and the passion that he has. Like, I mean, he's definitely tried. People talk about like, oh, Mike Brown, all he cares about is the money, and I don't think that's accurate. I mean, you hear the way Mike Brown talks, and he's got a very genuine passion about the game of football. Now, I also think he's an idiot. I also think he doesn't know what he's doing half the time. I think I think he might be a little arrogant. I think he thinks he knows what he's doing, and he's made a lot of bad decisions because he wants to be smart like his dad. But to question his passion and care for the game of football, I think that's a little ridiculous.
1,000 miles on somebody's shoes, man. You don't really know what's going through their mind, man.
Right.
You don't really know. You never know. I can never judge another man. I mean, besides the man I always judge in this podcast. But I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, like he's doing his thing, man. He's keeping the team afloat. Like, he hasn't moved my Cincinnati. They're doing fine.
Well, he was threatening. He was threatening to move him to Baltimore before we gave him the most, unfair, lopsided stadium deal in NFL history.
Yeah, that's well, the Browns did that to Armandale. The Browns would never left Cleveland, but at the same time, would have had Armandale as the owner. Oh, I like that dude.
Yeah, but you also might have 2 Super Bowls too.
Yeah, but yeah, we might get 2 Super Bowls with Haslam. We might. Man, here's the thing. And if we didn't get a chance to do this on the podcast, we will do this one week. But the thing is about the Haslams, though, is that, like, people, I think the Haslams had a bad first 5 years, and then they got their stuff together. And it wasn't from lack of trying, or it wasn't from lack of want. It was just from lack of just not knowing what to do and being overwhelmed. But they're doing really good. They're doing really good as owners. They're doing really freaking good as owners. Like,
well,
the
last year, but how much of that is them being good as owners, and how much of that has just been like?
There's a lot. But not only just that, the stuff that they've been doing for the city, man, they've been doing a lot for the city.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with
and for Columbus. And for Columbus, I mean, like, I think it's honestly though, like what the Haslams has been doing for Ohio and for the city, and things they've been doing for these high school football teams, what they did for the Columbus Crew, like that, it's admirable, man. Because Dan Good, man, I ain't gonna get into that. because this podcast is even about that. But the Haslam's, I really respect what the Haslam's are doing. I really do respect what they're doing as a family. We're very blessed to have them as the owner. I'd much rather have them as owner than Armadale's family. Just saying. That's how I feel about it. That's all I want to say about it, because I don't want to get too much into that, because I go on a rant about this, but I'm not. I'm all right. I'm done.
Well, I think that's kind of a good place to leave off anyway. So, like I said, everybody, thanks for listening to this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. This is the last episode of our off-season schedule. So next week, we'll be coming at you on, I think, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I believe it's Saturday will be our Saturday of next week will be our preview episode for the upcoming games. And then it'll be Tuesday. We'll be recapping. Not this. Well, actually, am I right about that? Is that the way that works? Okay, so sorry, I got kind of confused. So according to the calendar here, today is August 30th, and you guys are seeing real time me learning what day it is. So, today is August 30th, so we're going to make it through this week. And then I think we're going to do one more normal episode like this, because it'll be 2 weeks from now that the teams will be playing. So we'll be coming up on the main part of the, I think we'll be doing one more episode, like one more normal episode. We're going to break down, I think, the 53-man roster, because it'll be up at that point. And then after that, we'll be getting into the meat of it. So you won't hear from us for pretty much that entire week. And then it'll be the preview episode on Saturday, September 11th, for the games that'll be played on, or maybe on Friday. Maybe we can try to get it out Friday. That would be good too. But point being, it'll be around that time for the games that are being played on the 12th. And then you'll see us again for a Tuesday episode, which will be recapping those games. And then, again, at the end of the week for the next week. And it'll be going like that until the season's over and the Super Bowl's played. And we'll be doing predictions and having a lot of fun with that. And maybe I'll win another jersey, and that'll be great. But we'll see.
Another jersey.
Do what?
You're not winning another jersey. You're not winning another jersey.
Are we doing that again? Are we doing a jersey bet this year?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet.
Okay. Well, you let me know.
Do something.
You let me know. And then you guys let us know what you think about pretty much anything that we've said. If you have any comments, ideas, anything you want to hear us talk about on the show, just leave a comment down below, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter like y'all usually do. Which, I mean, that sounded like I was upset about, but I'm not. I like talking to you on Facebook and Twitter too. So everybody, thanks for listening. And you can find me at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/Phelps. Check out everything Thomas is doing on Twitter. He's at T_star94. He's the same thing on Instagram. He's got a YouTube page called used to be called Blowdown Page. Now it's called the Thomas J Network.
Yeah.
And then he's also blowing up on TikTok. So how do they find you on TikTok, Thomas?
The Thomas J Network.
Oh, the Thomas J Network. Okay, well, there you go. So, thanks for listening, everybody. I'll leave y'all this time, and as always, with a Who Dey.
Go Browns.